AKAPAD. It is that time of year. It's Cinemas. This is the annual podcast event on my overall podcast, AKAPAD's Audio Audacity. And I'm your host, Peter A. DeLuca. But Cinemas is an annual event. It's part of a trilogy of annual events because we do one for Thanksgiving and Halloween. And look, we love Christmas movies. We want to find the best Christmas movies. And it doesn't always have to be the absolute top tier Christmas movies because that's a very small category. So you want to do something like just, wearing your producer hat or your Santa producer hat. And, you loosen up that criteria. You say movies that are maybe a little bit unknown, sequels to giant Christmas movies that, people might love, like this one, like Jingle All The Way 2, starring Larry the Cable Guy. And get this, made by WWE Pictures for a cool budget. I mean, we could raise this on Kickstarter for $5 million. Now, the original, the last episode, $75 million. And it's got a all-star cast. 4 major actors are in the original Jingle All The Way. Jingle All The Way 2, we have Larry the Cable Guy, who at the time, big following, still does. I love his character. I like the blue collar comedy characters. It's like the Mark Twain. That was like Mark Twain's whole bit when he did his lecture tours way back, forever ago. And we get this movie, and I'm a little bit frustrated because as soon as I look into this movie, I go to the Wikipedia. The one critic from Vice completely trashes this movie. So it's so bad it's good, which is not even a criticism. I mean, that's not even the thing to say. I believe if you watch enough movies, and Merry Christmas, by the way. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. I believe if you review enough movies, long enough, there's very few movies that become guilty pleasures, and there's very few movies that, in your opinion, are so bad it's good. Because when you go back to, for example, every time I go back and re-explore Universal Soldier, Armageddon, I'm just giving you examples here. But every single time I watch Universal Soldier, starring Dolph Lundgren and the fantastically great Jean-Claude Van Damme, I find nuance, I find things, I find threads that other people steal. I find storytelling solutions. I find avenues within the production of, sometimes you can tell what the landscape is when they shoot these movies because they're shot so quick. And within a few environments, you're like, oh my God, that's the same field. They just flipped it because the mountains are over here. And, it's supposed to be a whole different environment. So stuff like that. And I just believe there's a reward for people who want to go out and trash things. And we're not about this here because when I set out to do this show, okay, and look, we're approaching episode 500. And the show's had many different phases. But during the entire, the one baseline during the entire way is that this show was about real conversation and long-form conversation regarding movies. Something I felt was gone. So it does upset me when I see a sequel, and clear, this was a clear title grab by WWE, clear money grab. Even if you make a movie for $5 million and it grosses $30 million, it's that's good. That's really, really good for the studio. And that's how small studios are built. I don't know where WWE Studios is right now. I'm not even sure if they're still operating. I assume they are. But, we get all of these problems with the original Jingle All The Way. Arnold Schwarzenegger is not a good father. there's very little Christmas spirit in that movie. And we kind of have a lot of unlikable characters. So it's tough. Like, the most likable character in that entire movie is Sinbad. And, he's portrayed as an insane postal worker. So, on this last podcast, I mentioned I watched, the first, 15, 30 minutes of this movie. I thought it was 30. It was actually about 15 to 20. Correction. Asterisk. And I could already see that, they saw some of these problems with the first Jingle All The Way, which is an unlikable father, a unadmirable relationship between a father and their offspring. Father and son, this time it's father and daughter. Larry the Cable Guy comes off as a better father, 1,000-fold more than Schwarzenegger. The Christmas idea is far more embedded in this movie than its predecessor. But what are the drawbacks, right? Because there is a reason why we haven't heard of Jingle All The Way 2, which is coming to you right now with a full recommendation. I cannot recommend this movie enough because it has one of the best hooks at the end of any Christmas movie. Any Christmas movie, this movie has a hook worth watching. I don't even want to spoil it. I don't. And you know me. I don't give a shit about spoilers. The little girl in this movie, what's her name? Vicky something? No. I'm looking through things here. It's Kennedy Clements. Kennedy Clements, literally one of the cutest kids ever on film. She's amazing. She's cute. She's lovable. You want to take her home with you. She's that cute of a kid. Way better than Jake Laurie. Then we have where does the plot turn? Well, the plot turns when Larry the Cable Guy's ex-wife, they share a child, she gets married, the guy makes cardboard boxes, which is, I love it when they make fun of how people built their fortunes in movies. But there is a guy right now who's equally as rich as the guy portrayed in this movie that makes cardboard boxes, because there is such a thing as cardboard box empires. But the whole plight is they're going to share Christmas. The girl wants to go to both houses. And to gain the daughter's affection, Larry the Cable Guy needs to hunt down a Harrington bear. And the stepfather, who at the time misguided, because he does turn that corner, he becomes good. He redeems himself. True character arcs are in this movie that are not in Jingle All The Way numero uno. But we get the gimmick. The gimmick is we have to hunt down a toy for Jingle All The Way. It's Harrington Bear. Harrington Bear, and the way how Harrington Bear is portrayed throughout the plot and the narrative, how it's with the characters, it's not there. You don't believe that this is something people would want. Jingle All The Way, there's a scene where Jake Laurie tells you everything great about Turbo Man. And his enthusiasm is there. It's probably his best scene, in anything. But he sells it. And it's a great scene. It's a scene with purpose. There's none of that here, and it kind of pays off at the end. The reason why there's not a true emphasis on Harrington Bear. But I just feel like Jingle All The Way needs to be anchored by a very strong toy message. Because you have to understand why people would want this thing. And it really is just like a talking bear. Comes in the box. There's really nothing crazy, nothing special about it. But you do want that throughout this movie. That's my only gripe. Within this movie. And this movie is also starring Santino Martorella, who is, right, the great Santino, from WWE, who is maybe the top 3 comedic wrestlers in wrestling history. I mean, he's awesome. He did the snake bit, and like he would poke you with the snake, but it would be just a sock, and you would like go down. It would be like the snake bite of death. But no, like this movie is completely surprising. Made for $5 million, starring Larry the Cable Guy. From a studio you kind of forget does make good movies. WWE does have a very good track record. Again, for like what they do it very well. So I don't know, people. This is a recommendation. It's frustrating knowing that everyone kind of bashes this freaking movie. I believe I will take this position that this movie celebrates the Christmas spirit, celebrates family, celebrates the things that are important about the holiday. The commentary within consumerism and consumerism is there. This movie trumps the original. Here we go, okay? This is why you guys listen. This is why I do it. For Cinemas, overall episode 439 of AKAPAD's Audio Audacity, I recommend Jingle All The Way 2, starring Larry the Cable Guy. I love you. Rock and roll.
Ho, 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 ho.